So I figured this is probably a topic that is a lot more important these days than anybody really gives it much credit for. And it was asked in chat earlier by a Nubian, how do you deal with all the bigotry? How do you deal with all of everything going on? So let's go ahead and talk about that. The first one we have here is a Slime Girl Suris on the Beach by Suzu Sawara. For those who don't know, Suzu is actually the artist behind this model right here, and they actually made this fan art shortly after going ahead and finishing up this particular model, or at least the beach version of this model. You know, I love the fan art too. I really do. You know, this is, for me, this is an awesome piece. And I really like it, especially because I like the Slime Girl version of my character. I need to get more art with that version of the character. The next one we have here is from Salem, who's another official channel artist. They said this is some valid fan art. I'm not. You know what? You know what? Technically, yes. Technically, yes. It is valid fan art, even if it is nothing but pain. Even if it is nothing but pain. Speaking of nothing but pain, the last one is from a Nubian. Revenge for the Mimic High Heel. I don't know what Jeff the Killer nonsense I'm staring at right now, but I'm going to see it in my nightmares. It's going to lick my toes as I sleep. With all that said, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't headed over to the Patreon, or if you haven't hit the like button on the video already, maybe consider doing so. All those things help out the channel more than you could possibly know. That said, the Kitsune Cavalier, thank you for redeeming your points, friend. Oh well. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Because this is kind of an important thing. I've got 75 hours of the Subathon staring me down, and more time to follow, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. Fortunately. I am trading dollars for time in the most wage slave sense I possibly can. In the most direct transactional way. But, truth be told, streaming the way that I do, talking about the things that I do, it is very, very taxing. But I learned a bunch of coping mechanisms when I was a kid, and they've pretty much helped me now. Spoiler alert, a lot of it's going to boil down to various forms of escapism. I know that that's kind of, you know, letting the cat out of the bag there. That's not a whole lot of amazing information right off the bat, but really, the secret, mostly, is just finding things you enjoy. I know when I'm done recording this video, if I don't have another video I need to do, I'm probably going to bring a friend onto the stream, and we're going to hang out for a little bit. I'm probably going to play some Resident 4, one of my favorite video games. Like, understanding that there is an amount of things you can control and an amount of things you can't control, and learning to categorize between the two of them. You can't control all the nastiness in the world. You can't. There's no way you can. You can't account for it. But what you can account for is the amount of it you let yourself deal with to an extent. There are forms of silly shinobi, fuck you. You can't account for that either. Jesus Christ, silly shinobi dropping 50,001 channel points for an ooh. I'm trying to be positive here, and you're here ruining everything. What is wrong with you? But there are certain forms of bigotry that you can't deal with, but you have to find a way to cope with. If you're trans, transphobia is a thing you're going to be dealing with in your everyday life. If you're gay, you're going to be dealing with homophobia in your everyday life. If you're me, you're going to be dealing with Red Joker dropping 50,001 channel points again, forcing me to say the fuck. God damn it. Ooh. Ooh. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. If you're me, you deal with politics. And I don't get to escape politics because it's become my job. It's my full-time thing. I don't get to walk away from it. But it's not the same thing as being particularly marginalized and having to deal with that. I don't have to deal with racism, transphobia, homophobia, not directly. I have to deal with it directed at people I care about, but I don't have to deal with it directly. MC Poto, God, fucking, why? Why? Fine, another one, 50,000. I'm going to put a timer on that. I swear to God. 50,001 channel points. Just going to MC Poto, fucking... Oh, whoa. Just shoot me. Just shoot me. Just shoot me. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying so hard. Sarah Chikorita, thank you for putting the armistice in. Thank you. 50,000 channel points dropped on the armistice. Cool. We're done. No more whatever that war word was. At least for an hour. So 12 to 1:42 in the morning. That'll change. But ultimately, there are levels of bigotry that you can avoid. Bigotry happening in your family, probably can't avoid. Especially if you're a minor, you can't really get away from it. Like, what are your options? You don't have a whole lot of them. But developing safe coping mechanisms, reading books, playing video games, finding friends to console in, things like that can help a ton when you're dealing with shit. When I was in PCA and moved from there to Brown Barge, I had to deal with having no idea how to socialize. My coping mechanism became card games, and card games also became my way of figuring out how to talk with people. I didn't know how to spark a conversation with somebody, but I certainly knew how to sit in front of a table with someone and say, hey, let's shuffle up and play a game. And then a conversation could start from there. Lantern, thank you for redeeming your points for a converted. You fucking degen. That was a mechanism that I learned. And it's largely one that I fall back on even today. So if the question is, how do I personally deal with all the shit that I have to go through when I'm on stream, dealing with religious fundamentalists, dealing with hateful rhetoric, dealing with all kinds of stuff, I walk away. Maki Himiko, thank you for redeeming your points as well for an you fucking degen. But I walk away. I go to my local card shop. I sit down at a table with a bunch of players that are playing Commander. I pull out a deck, and I play some rounds of Magic. That's what I do. That's how I cope. That's what I find healthy. It is still my avenue of socializing with people. I can go to any card shop in the Atlanta area, find a group of people that doesn't have a fourth player, and just sit down and be their fourth player. Play a few games with them, and then head home. The other thing that helps me is recognizing when I can walk away. It's not just I get to walk away when I'm not streaming, because I'm still dealing with politics even when I'm not streaming. Political bullshit is constantly affecting people I care about, and I'm always having to categorize stuff for me to talk about whenever I go on stream. But realistically, when I know that I'm getting too overwhelmed, that's when I know it's time to get off of Twitter. That's when I know that it's time to go and engage in a hobby of mine and just sink all of my time into it. And for me, that hobby, like I said, it's card games. If I can't go to a card shop, I'll take out a deck and start tinkering with it. Try to figure out how to lower the mana curve, trying to figure out which cards performed well and which cards didn't perform well, which cards need to be swapped out with other ones. That bit of tinkering, I mean, during COVID, I did that with Nerf guns, too. That tinkering, that mechanical sitting down and solving a problem within a little world that I can control helps me cope with the larger world that I can't control. I can't stop rabid amounts of transphobia smacking against people I care about. I can't stop women's rights from being eroded by our Supreme Court. I can't stop people saying they want to roll back gay marriage. I can't stop any of that. But what I can do is I can speak out against it when I've got the spoons to deal with it, and I can be cognizant enough of my mental capacity to know when I don't have the spoons to deal with it. And when I don't have the spoons to deal with it, I take out a deck, and I start figuring out where I can slot in a card. Like, I can't afford a Gold Span Dragon right now. But I can guarantee you, the day that I can, I will be putting a Gold Span Dragon inside my Miriam deck. I'll need to figure out where it goes. That may take 10 or 20 minutes. And while I've got that deck out on the table, I will probably start thinking about, hey, maybe I can put a couple more mana dorks in here. I'm trying to make this deck more efficient after all. I'm trying to make sure I can get out dragons faster. Maybe I can slot in 1 or 2 more. Maybe I can find room for a couple more cards here. And to be honest, I look forward to that. One of the main reasons I have so many commander decks right now is because that is how I cope. I don't want to just go to a tournament and sit down and play with people. I want something as an active project that I can take out, throw out onto the table, and just pour myself into. And if I come up with something playable by the time I'm done, awesome. If I don't, that was an hour or 2 of my life that I got to spend enjoying myself and not dealing with Call for an Uprising, not dealing with Blair White, not dealing with Ben Shapiro, not dealing with all of these toxic, malignant personalities that can eat away at the very fabric of your sanity. But when I know it's time for me to stream, when I know it's time for me to confront those particular problems that I have to deal with, I know that I can turn my stream off when I need to. Likewise, if you're dealing with a lot of bigotry, figure out where it's coming from. If the bigotry is coming from within your own home, find out a way that you can isolate yourself from it. Find out a way that you can remove it from your home. If it's a parent, you might not be able to. But if you can isolate yourself into your room for long periods of time, that's time you can be researching a new skill. That's time you can be spending learning a new hobby. That's time you can be doing things that better yourself and make you a better, more worthwhile, happier person. And when you open the door, much like when I turn on the stream, you know you've got an amount of time that you're going to have to deal with the bullshit again. There is no way to avoid the bullshit forever. I've lost friends because of my channel, because of the opinions that I say publicly on my platform. And that's just something that I've got to deal with, because I would rather be myself, talk about the things I care about, than make myself the most comfortable version of me around everybody. There's something to be said about noticing when you're saying something toxic and harmful to people and backing away from that. But there's also something to be said about when you're just saying, hey, don't be racist, or hey, don't be transphobic. If you have a favorite video game, find your time to sit down and spend some time with it. I guarantee you, even some of the best games that you have played through 10 or 20 times, you'll still find something new when you go into it again, if you love that game enough. I find new ways to do stuff on Banjo-Kazooie whenever I play through that game, and I play through that game once or twice a year. It's a comfort game to me. Resident Evil 4 is a comfort game to me. Paper Mario is a comfort game to me. And I find new ways to enjoy those games when I go into them because they are my comfort games. I'm not sitting down and playing them just to complete them. I'm sitting down and playing them because that gives me a different world that I can involve myself in. That's not this one. I can't turn the real world off whenever I choose, but I can turn a game off whenever I choose. And having that something that is healthy to do, that I'm able to control, makes the things I can't control seem that much smaller. And if games don't work for you, maybe it's a show. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's a workout routine. Maybe it's spending time with a friend. But whatever it is, make sure that it's healthy. Don't engage in self-harm as your escape. Don't engage in anything that would degrade you as an escape. Falling into addictive substances, things like that, as your escape doesn't tend to be very healthy. By and large, sometimes it's good to accept that you will never be able to change the world. But that's okay. You can accept the long defeat. You don't have to be able to change the world to be able to find things within your own life that you can change to make living it better. You can't change the minds of 10 people who ruin your day every time they come in contact with you, but you can get them out of your life if they are hurting you. If you're not an adult yet, that might not be something you can do quite yet, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel that you will be able to. And when you're an adult, you'll be able to go do that. If you are an adult and you're stuck in one of those situations, you might have avenues that you haven't considered yet that allow you to get time away from those toxic personalities. And if those toxic personalities are online, when they're on Twitter, when they're on YouTube, when they're on Discord, remember, the block button's a thing. There is no weakness associated in blocking someone. Never be too proud to cut someone out of your life online if all they do is hurt you. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the world does kind of suck. But that doesn't mean you have to let everything in your world suck. And it's probably a good idea to note the differences. It took me a long time to be able to do that. I had coping mechanisms of falling into card games for a long time, but I didn't have the habit of falling into them when I knew I was at my limit. They were just a comfortable thing for me. It took about a year of therapy for me to be able to identify when I needed to put myself in one of my escapist tendencies and when it was better for me to confront the things that were causing me issues. And it's going to be hard for you to figure out that too, and I can't solve that for you. I can't measure when a problem is something to walk away from and a problem is something to confront. But you can. I guarantee you it's a skill that you have. You just haven't developed it enough yet. Maybe that can be your hobby. But the question was asked, how do I cope with everything? How do I handle all the bullshit? That's how. If you enjoyed this content, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe, and as always, everybody, insert end a video tagline here, and take care of yourself.